Hey, welcome to Schmooze with Suze. I'm Suze Montgomery, your host, and got a girlfriend of mine on that's, we've been friends for quite a while. She was on our show, I'd say, what, 5, 6 years ago, maybe?
8 years ago.
Oh my God, that went fast. It's Sandy Henderson and also Jeannie Diaz, and we're talking about weight and talking about body weight, and we're talking about how you eat and how you can change your life and how you can become healthier. Sandy and her co-writer just published this great book called Eat Your Way to Success and Learn How to Control Hunger. And Jeannie is a dietitian. So I was paging through here, and you know, you've got some good recipes in here. And
Thank
the
you.
nice thing is they're fast.
Yes.
Nothing is really like spend 2 hours in the kitchen with, but they're healthy. And they even have bacon. It's a food group along with scotch and chocolate. So let's talk about how this all started with you when, Sandy, I mean, I've known you, but I've known knew you for what, 6, 7, 8 years? You grew up in Brooklyn.
Yes. I grew up in Brooklyn. I was a chubby child. I was a fat teenager. And one summer, eating maybe 400 or 500 calories a day, literally, I got my weight down to about 130 for about 15 minutes, and had a great summer wearing great clothes and being out there. But I ate my way to 424 pounds.
Compulsive eating or selective eating? What kind of food did you eat? I mean, just
Anything
unhealthy, right?
Yeah. I cooked a lot of healthy things, but I also ate a lot of unhealthy things. And the last 100 pounds were put on dashboard dining between Ventura, Oxnard, and the San Fernando Valley when my mother-in-law got ill, and we had to go and visit every night in the hospital. We were working, both my husband and I, working 12-hour days. And
You weren't eating hospital food.
no, we were eating
Fast food, drive-through.
But in both directions, because after you got done with the ordeal, then you deserved a reward. And I grew up, didn't you?
Yeah,
food
you eat
was
your dinner, you get a
always-
cookie or whatever
always a
dessert was.
reward,
We
right?
always had dessert,
Right.
but I never ate it. My brothers did. They had my share. I wasn't interested in doing that. But yeah, that was a reward system. That was 50s and 60s, I think, right? We all did
Yes.
that. It's interesting, Jeannie, we were talking before we started, and since you're a dietitian, well, first of all, how did you decide to choose that for a career?
Well, it's a good question. I kind of came by it because I took an elective class that I didn't know anything about nutrition. I took it because, that sounds kind of interesting. I was going to be a social worker. And then I found out how really probably difficult it was to do that job and really have an effect in helping people. And I took the nutrition class and I thought, hey, this is really interesting. And I like the whole idea that it's about health and prevention and that kind of thing. So that's what really drew me to the profession, and I was excited about teaching people how to be healthier by eating healthy and living healthy. So that's kind of how I came into it.
And you made the quantum turn. I mean, this is years ago, but you always were heavy, or throughout your adult life?
Yeah, from chubby child to fat adult to obese adult to morbidly obese adult.
Okay, what's morbidly? Is that?
Is
there?
I don't know what they,
Is it
do
like
they
100
still,
pounds
Yes,
over BMI?
it's 100
It's
pounds
100
over
pounds or
or a
more,
BMI of over 40.
Okay.
My BMI when I chose to have weight loss surgery was 68.5.
That's big.
That's huge.
That's called super morbidly obese.
Yeah.
That's actually the term
Oh,
for
there
it.
is a term for that.
Yeah.
What made you decide to lose all the weight?
I had a blood pressure crisis in my PCP's office, and it finally scared me into truly looking at myself. I
Yeah,
couldn't
because-
live in denial anymore, and I didn't want to take meds the rest of my life.
Wow, that must have been, scared the hell out of you.
Yeah, it sure did.
Wow, that's interesting how all of a sudden you could just make a decision in one day and that's it. But I guess if you're faced with death, that's probably, there's no choice in that one.
Yeah.
So how did you start to lose the weight? I mean, did you consciously look at your choices you were eating every day?
I had weight loss surgery. I had a lap band procedure in 2004.
Okay, so
And-
describe what the lap band does.
Okay, so the lap band goes around the top of your stomach and makes that opening a little bit smaller. So you eat less. It creates a little area that the food goes into and then passes right through. But the way, I do not believe the doctors are even 100% sure of exactly, how it functions, but it has to do with sending the signals to your brain that you've had enough, that you are full. And if you eat too much, it's not a good thing. You will not only feel overfull, but you'll get sick.
You actually get physically ill.
Well, there's no room for the food. Rather than physically ill, it just comes back.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the lap bands, do they still do lap bands?
Yeah, they still do lap bands.
Okay.
They still do lap bands, and my lap band was in 2004. I weighed 424 pounds. I lost over 250 pounds. I'd say it was a successful
Yikes.
surgery.
I would say so.
Between the surgery and the change in my eating.
But I met you when you had the surgery, you were done with the surgery, and I met you at the gym, you were working out at Pierpont, and man, you worked out like a demon. I mean, you were like so focused. I mean, you still are probably, right?
Yep, 5 days a week.
You are like, you never skip. You were religious about doing your workouts, and I mean, you worked out hard. I used to watch you and sit there and like, wow, I should be doing that, but I'm not. But you really are dedicated to this lifestyle.
Because it's given me a life. I have a life. I can do what I want. I can get on a plane and fly to Kauai, and
See, you don't think about that. Like somebody that's never been there, that's kind of like foreign to people. Like,
yeah. I don't have to go like this to the flight attendant and say, "Can I please have the seatbelt extender?" And pray that
they have those.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
And pray that the person sitting next to me on the plane doesn't mind that I'm halfway in their seat as well.
Unbelievable.
And I can actually walk through an airport without pain.
Well, you look like $1 million.
I feel like $1 million, and that's looking good and being able to shop in normal stores instead of the fat girl stores is great. But the best part is when we had rain, actual water falling from the sky last year, and all the waterfalls in all the areas around Ventura County and parts of LA County were operating again. Actually, water was falling from them. I got to hike to all of them. I could never have done that.
Oh, boy, really. You just don't think about that. I mean, just an average person doesn't think about that, but your life is so different.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful.
Jeannie, how did you decide to just now you're doing dietetics, obviously, as a dietitian, but you work with weight loss people, or?
I do.
Why did you choose that, or did it choose you?
In this case, it kind of chose me. My former life, what I did before as a dietitian was I worked in a diabetes center for 16 years, where there too, most of the people that I worked with were overweight or obese. So I had a lot of that background in working with people for weight loss management. But in my middle 40s, I kind of had a change of life. I got divorced, my kids were all gone, and I decided to make a leap of faith, having never really done bariatric nutrition or anything. They had an opening at Santa Barbara Cottage. I applied and they hired me. So the last 7.5 years, that's what I've been doing. And thankfully I met Sandy early on in the process because she's really been an inspiration to me, but also taught me a lot and given me resources of places to go when I needed to learn things. So it's a very interesting and fast-growing field. I think that when you consider that only about 1% of the people that could benefit from bariatric surgery actually do it, there's a lot of room for that to continue to be an avenue of treatment for people that need it.
Well, you are an inspiration, you're a pioneer by doing this so many years ago, but understanding how it works. But when you touched upon the diabetic connection, I mean, I said that because I was, my background is food also, and I'm thinking, I was the trained chef, and I'm looking at like 25, 30 years ago, just looking at the way we eat as a nation, and understanding and reading and doing a lot of research and finding out like when the FDA started, and about how the whole thing, with the lobbyists and how the feds got in bed with the big major manufacturers in 1947 to develop more product and get everything to the table faster by not necessarily good means, and watching the way they started to alter our food sources, and watching how people changed with that, and just, I'm sure you both do this. I mean, you walk down the street and you're instantly, even though it's, it's your avocation, it's your profession, you instantly go, wow, look at the size of that person, right? You still do that. And I look and I think to myself, not necessarily the size of the person, I think unhealthy. And I think about how diabetic conditions are the #1 right now in America. What people are dying from is diabetic related conditions. I mean, it affects everything.
Yeah, if they put the heart disease would probably be on the death certificate, but it's probably heart disease related to diabetes. So if diabetes was actually put on there as the correct cause of death.
It wasn't the primary cause of death.
But it led to the stroke or the heart attack or the kidney failure.
The risk factors.
Yeah, all those things. And it is growing at not just in our country, but worldwide at astronomical proportions. And mainly because of the obesity crisis that we see all over the world.
And the fast food. I mean, when you look back at the old advertising and marketing for like McDonald's, what's like, you deserve a break today, all of a sudden you're changing the consciousness of the way America eats, and about so many books I've read on the subject, but all of it was always profit. And it was, we seduced a nation. The way we eat and the way that, kids, I mean, some kids have never had a home-cooked meal. You always were good about doing that with, with Michelle. I mean, you cooked, and that was unusual. I mean, our generation, we were working, we were busy taking care of senior parents, and we really didn't have a lot of time, but it took effort to actually go home after busting your butt all day and making a meal because you believed in feeding your kids right, but then again, not paying attention to yourself. And I think that happened to a lot of people in our generation about how that worked. It's just scary.
It's happening still right now, because when I'm supporting and teaching people who have had weight loss surgery, the major player for them is that they nurture everybody around them without nurturing themselves first. And that, teaching people that making themselves a priority and taking care of themselves and loving themselves first, the rest of the world will treat them with the love and respect that they deserve at that point. And it's the same thing with food. There's recipes in here that are family friendly.
Yeah, these are great recipes. I mean, and they don't require, in the way you spell it out, and I mean, it's not like you have to go to the store and buy every single thing. Because this is
Because you'll
mostly
have it,
stuff that
yeah.
you have at home already.
Exactly.
And that was brilliant to do it this way, because I'm looking at this and going, okay, and then all of a sudden I go, cauliflower rice, what's cauliflower rice? So apparently it's cauliflower?
Yeah, okay.
You just break it up?
You can do it in a food processor, or you can go to Trader Joe's, or Green Giant now has it
They already
in
have
the
it prepared.
freezer, prepared. Costco has it prepared, and it's great because
It's a veg.
half a cup of rice is 120 calories and 2 to 3 grams of protein.
You
half
know
a cup
all this
of cooked
stuff?
rice, yeah. I'm a Virgo, it's off the top of my head. 2/3 of a cup of riced cauliflower is 25 calories and 2 grams of protein.
And you're full.
Well, yeah, you had enough of that vegetable, or you put it under whatever. Last night it was under enchilada chicken, which was merely chicken that I had cooked, boneless, skinless breast, in the crock pot with a can of enchilada sauce and a little bit of taco seasoning added to it. And then I shredded it and literally dumped it over some riced cauliflower
That's
that I
easy to
had
make.
cooked.
I mean, that's like no brain.
Yeah. And you tell me that your grandkids won't eat that? Put it in a taco shell, they'll eat anything.
Well, I don't know about you, but when our kids were little, and my grandkids too, I mean, it's kind of like, just taste it.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, once they taste it, they realize it's not
Well,
poisonous.
right. I mean, teenagers make a burrito out of it.
Yeah, but it's got to be simple and fast for kids. But it's got to be now with our lifestyles the way they are. It's got to be simple and fast for us too.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing about what Sandy is talking about in this book, and the reason that she's successful at weight loss surgery is because she has a plan for her life. And one of the things that I try to instill in the patients when they are getting ready for surgery is that going forward after surgery, you have to have a plan. You have to know what you're going to eat for dinner. You have to have that food to prepare. You know, the crock pot's your best friend because you can put something in there when you go out to work. It's there when you come home. You can't just wing it. You can't just go to work and not have something to eat, because where are you going to end up if you didn't bring your lunch with you?
Well, see, that's what people do. I mean, the lifestyles of the way we eat today and the nutritional value. I mean, everybody wants instant food. They want instant TV. They want instant news. They want instant food. Everything's instant.
It takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours on Sunday morning before Chuck wakes up, because I get up early and really early, and he doesn't. I'd love to sleep in. Sleeping in to me is 6 a.m.
5 for me.
Well, yeah, my normal day starts at between 4 and 5, so that's why sleeping in is 6.
You're still on my time clock, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And I'll prep some type of lunch for 3 to 5 days. Chicken salad, tuna salad, salmon salad, egg salad, whatever. I'll prep an egg dish, and I'll plan what my dinners are. And if I want to throw something in the crock pot, that enchilada chicken over cauliflower rice, that came out of the freezer because I knew I was going to be busy all day yesterday, which I was. And it was in the freezer in serving size containers, and out it came. I knew the nutritional value. Chuck gets 2 servings, I get 1 serving, because I know the calories also, and I need to
you
be
need a certain
concerned.
amount of calorie, right, every day?
Well, I need to keep the calories reduced to keep my weight in check.
Oh, okay. So you know how much you can eat every day. You've got this down to a formula, right? As far as what you're ingesting, as far as carbohydrate, protein numbers,
I just
or you
look
don't
at
play with it?
protein and calories, and
Okay.
and my average is, if I want to lose weight, it's 1,000 or under. If I want to stay the same with the amount of exercise that I do, it's 1,200 to 1,500.
You know, I look at, like, for example, the feds come out every so often with a new chart, right?
Oh, on how to eat?
The food
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah, it used
And
to be the food pyramid. Now it's the My Plate
It's
method.
kind of like, okay, I look at this and I'm like totally confused. So you've got the dairy lobby over here, and you've got all the different lobbies. Everybody's pushing for their product here. And so one week, like, coffee's bad for you. Next week, coffee's good for you. Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are good for you. They have these different lobbies, and this is all driven by the buck, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So when you look at these charts, what do? You just look at it and go, it's bogus.
Well, I think that's the problem, that the average person that doesn't have an in-depth knowledge of nutrition is that there's so much mixed information out there. How are you supposed to?
How do you sift through it?
Exactly. So I think when you look at how do you eat healthy?
Correct.
Yeah. So you start with the basics, as much fruits and vegetables as you know.
So like real food,
Right.
whole foods.
Yes.
So you go to farmer's market, and even farmer's market, which I go to, that's where I buy my veggies. If I don't grow them, I grow organic food.
Right.
And if you don't grow it, you go to farmer's market. But then again, it's kind of confusing because if you don't know where the grower is, and you don't know if they don't have a sign, and
Right.
often they don't have a sign, which is organic grown, how do you know? And I mean, I'm kind of picky as being a 3-time cancer survivor.
Sure.
I have to be pretty sharp on what I'm eating and what, where did it come from and how was it grown. And I really do believe, and I know this sounds a little nutty, but I believe this last round of cancer is directly attributed to probably groundwater, and pesticides that were, because we lived in it was formerly an orchard. And some of those toxins that are still in the soil, that then when you get the water, I mean, how do you know what to eat and what not to eat? How do you determine this?
For me, it's protein.
Yeah.
It's protein first.
So
because
how much protein do you eat a day?
between 60 and 100 grams of protein.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, the high end of it are the days when I do my lifting in elliptical and lifting. And that's 2 days a week because I fuel myself in the morning with a protein shake.
So what's an average for protein for a normal person?
For me is
That.
for a weight loss surgery person, it should be between 60 and 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, between 60 and 80 grams a day.
That sounds like a lot.
You'll find that the American public, on average, probably gets between 40 and 50.
Yeah. And
At
some
best.
people are a lot higher than that, but you're right. Most people are not getting that much protein, particularly our elderly people.
Yeah, and considering seniors are a large portion of our society, they don't eat well. A lot of them are without spouses, and they probably are undernourished,
Yeah, it's true.
not fed well, and that's probably starts a whole list of chronic conditions you can attribute that to, and shortens their lifespan.
Yeah.
How'd you get the idea to do this?
The question I'm asked most frequently by the people I support and just other people on Facebook, and I'm part of multiple organizations, and I speak at Jeannie support group meetings a couple of times a year, is what do you eat?
Yeah,
So my partner
that
and
was
I,
the genesis for this.
that was the genesis for that. This is what we eat. Any recipe in there is something that we have eaten or eat on a regular basis.
You can get this off of Amazon?
Amazon. yeah.
Okay. I'm really impressed that, you made this your life. I mean, as far as your career choice.
The nutrition or the
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's really fascinating, and I think we are learning more all the time about how what we eat is so important about our health. And I look at if you look back 100 years ago to 1917, 18, my grandmother that died 2 years ago was born in 1913, so that's a good reference for me. Yeah, she lived to be 102, sharpest attack. But so when she was born and what was available to eat at that time compared to now is just crazy. I mean, we have so much available, but so much of it is
It's garbage.
It's unhealthy, and we know the difference. Look, if you look at 1913, what's different? Our food supply is different.
We weren't an industrialized
It's
nation.
polluted with all kinds of chemicals, right?
Correct.
We don't exercise the way we used to. We used to have to work for a living,
Well,
right?
you were on a farm. You lived.
Right.
You were in industrialized cities at that point.
We've added all this stress of the modern world in there.
That's true.
And medications and all of those things. It's not just calories in, calories out, but that whole
It was
magnitude of
lifestyle,
things.
right?
Yeah, it's lifestyle, and that has contributed to that increase in obesity. I mean, you could say it's just the lack of moving and
So
too
we're
many calories,
sedentary.
but there's more to it than just that. Yeah.
I look back at it, and my students, I teach and I teach seniors. Their average age is about 85. I've got one that's 107. I mean, I've got the spectrum. They all grew up on farms.
Yeah.
And they all grew up with healthy, clean food, unadulterated by any pesticides or inorganic fertilizers, okay? So that is exactly, you nailed it right there, and that's what I see. And you, my God, I'm just, you know, I'm still impressed, I'm still blown away about what you have done with your life. And the two of you working together, I can just see the two, I mean, so we have your information, we're gonna put it on the bottom of the screen. Are you available to talk if somebody wants to?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
She's helped so many of the patients that I
you're
work
like a
with.
prophet. You know, I mean, you have such knowledge because this was not your orientation, but you have educated yourself to the point where, you know, it's your life. And it's the way you live your life.
It's my passion.
It is your passion,
It's my
and you
passion.
love it.
My
Look
passion-
how happy you
my
are.
My passion is helping other people, you know, find the light, as
You're
it
a
were.
servant as well,
Yeah.
and you serve.
She's the ultimate of pay it forward.
You're something.
But one thing I want you to know about Jeannie, if you remember, she said she was going to be a social worker.
Yeah, you're still helping.
And she is so good with her patients. They look at her with love in their eyes, not, oh no, what is she going to say next? And I've seen
that's
that
a trust
with Tulsa.
factor. And they know, even subliminally, they know that you're there to help. And that's because you can't feign that. You can't fake that kind of behaviors. Oh my God, we're out of time. I don't believe this again. I think we're going to probably have to do another segment of this at some point, so be open to the fact that I'll give you a call. Thanks for coming and sharing. It's nice for being my friend for all these years.
Yeah, I
Jeannie,
know. And
both of you.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for doing what you do, and you're saving lives. You know that. If they listen, and you should listen. And see us next week. We'll be back with new guests.